the Greater New Orleans Multicultural Tourism Network, and then New Orleans Public Library, New Orleans Museum of Art. We will have municipal participation in civic affairs, which includes New Orleans Council on Aging, SBCA, Arts Council, TCA, which is Total Community Action, and LSU Ag Center, followed by Algiers Development District. Mr. Mark Romig with New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation, and Ms. Essence Harris. Please come forward with the Greater New Orleans Multicultural Tourism Network. Please introduce yourselves, and you all can begin. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council Member. Good morning, everyone.
Councilmember Banks, you want to say something?
What's her name? Essence who?
Essence Banks.
Thank you very much.
It's Harris Banks?
Banks. I want that clear.
Harris Banks, right.
Banks.
Oh, Banks.
Don't get that twisted. That's Essence Banks.
Banks. It is Friday. Take that to the bank, right?
Good morning. I'm joined here by Tiffany Jackson, our accountant, as well as Jeremy Cooker, our Vice President for Marketing and Special Projects, and of course our great collaborator, Essence Banks, with New Orleans Multicultural Tourism Network. Thank you for inviting us to appear today and review our efforts to continue providing marketing support for our city's tourism economy and to help you in your important work to reimagine NOTMC going forward after this year as a viable entity. As we all know, with the agreement that was reached between the mayor, the governor, and the tourism industry to shift certain tourism funds to infrastructure needs under the Fair Share program, the day-to-day domestic leisure marketing work that we have been doing at NOTMC, along with our marketing staff, will shift over to New Orleans & Company as of January 1st. While we will be working with less dollars, I want to assure you that we will use our best efforts to continue competing against all the other destinations to get visitors to spend their monies here, as well as provide meaningful involvement in our efforts by our diverse businesses to accomplish these goals. From basis of fact, New Orleans & Company, as we go through this transition, will assume all of NOTMC's current marketing contracts, so those won't be responsibility or left with NOTMC, along with our agency of record, 360i, represented here today by P.J. Sabile. And we'll do that so that we can continue supporting the economy with our work after the first of the year and not have a blip or a stop in our work. Now, regarding NOTMC, what we have before you today is our suggestion as to how NOTMC can also continue to achieve the important initiatives that remain with the entity, and most importantly, be able to direct unencumbered funds to infrastructure and other critical needs of the city. While the suggested budget is our way to offer guidance on how to achieve great outcomes with those investments, I understand that the choices are going to be left to the City Council in consultation with the mayor. I believe that great things for the city are achievable through a modified and retooled version of NOTMC, and that entity can meet the ongoing obligations of NOTMC, including the support of New Orleans Multicultural Tourism Network, and continue supporting the cultural economy, the important work that we have started with inclusion and economic opportunity through diversity initiatives, and tackle other challenges identified by the leadership of you and the city government. So if I could show that budget slide, the highlights would be the existing occupancy privilege tax, which is the original tax structure that created NOTMC back in the early 90s. So we have that remaining with NOTMC, along with obviously some interest income from the bank, with the total budget revenues of about $5.7 million. Now, through the ongoing operations, there are some dedicated expenditures that must stay with NOTMC through the original ordinance. That includes support of Essence's organization, New Orleans Multicultural Tourism Network. In fact, they receive 7.5% of the occupancy privilege tax, and I believe provides the majority of their funding. And there's also two line items that support the Mayor's Office of Cultural Economy for the New Orleans Film Commission and the New Orleans Music Commission. So those dedicated expenditures were including in the expenses for NOTMC next year. And then there are some existing obligations, including support of Essence contract. As you know, we've just included the conclusion of the new 5-year agreement, so NOTMC is a signatory to that. As it's been done in the past with Super Bowls, There's a commitment to assist with bringing that Super Bowl to New Orleans in 2024. Each year, the city's asked us to support Mardi Gras portalets for visitors that come into the city for that important period of our tourism economy. And so that is included in our budget suggestion for NOTMC next year. And then we are also suggesting that NOTMC still remain that body that supports our cultural economy through support of various initiatives, fairs, and festivals that come to us for support, whether it's the Treme Festival or the Jingle on the Boulevard or the French Quarter Fest or the National Fried Chicken Festival. These festivals and fairs really support our diverse businesses and also our neighborhoods in getting them involved in putting forward the great cultural assets of our city. So all told up, we have those included in the budget. We've obviously are going to need, our NOTMC will need someone or a small staff, probably a person and a half, to handle administrative work. And then it leaves approximately $3.7 million in the NOTMC budget that's unencumbered for the fair share or infrastructure issues or what other priorities the city decides upon. Now, we're also going to be rolling over into NOTMC next year a reserve of about $1.3 million that we've been holding in case we would have an issue with weather or with a stoppage of occupancy coming into the city. That was always our, quote, rainy day fund, and those dollars will also remain with NOTMC. So we believe this gives NOTMC a good start into the new year. While I will be over at New Orleans and Company as an employee along with our marketing team as of January 1, I want to pledge to you that I will provide myself as a volunteer to help in any transition that you need to ensure that NOTMC continues doing its important work and to ensure that everybody is moving in a good direction. Tiffany Jackson, our accountant, has also agreed that she would serve on a contract basis with NOTMC because if anyone knows the books, she knows it better than anybody. So, again, we want to make sure that this transition is smooth and it happens appropriately. As it relates to the domestic marketing piece, I do have a few slides that will take you through how we will move forward in 2020 to ensure that the tourism economy gets the support it needs through New Orleans and Company. And so if you'd like, I can take you through that. You do have the handout, but I want to assure you that our diversity initiatives continue. We'll continue working with In It to Win It, the workshop each and every year. We'll continue to work with our Healthy Hospitality program. That will continue. In fact, we've got an ad program that will begin in just a couple of weeks, reaching out to the hospitality workers to ensure that they know about the Healthy Hospitality Initiative. And so our team, combined with Cheryl Teamer and her team at New Orleans and Company, will continue prosecuting these programs to ensure that we are meeting the inclusion and diversity needs that we set out to begin with. And, of course, coming back to you on a regular basis and giving you updates on how we are progressing with each of those programs.
Thank you, Mr. Romig. And I just want to say, one, thank you for your leadership in taking the helm of New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation. You have been phenomenal in all of these festivals, these events, and wrapping your arms around what is it's a monumental task. And you have put on the face of New Orleans like no other. And we know you're not going far, you're just transferring over. But I just want to publicly thank you on behalf of the citizens of New Orleans for running a great organization.
Thank you, Councilmember. I could not do this without a team that really loves the city of New Orleans.
Thank you, and I also want to applaud your efforts throughout this process. We on the dais support the procurement of DBE services. And I see in your professional services matrix on template 5, the PR consultants, Spears, and of course your audit services, Bruno and Turvalon. And so I want to thank you for investing in the DBE community.
Thank you, and we'll continue working through that. In fact, our agency of record 2 days ago issued an information flyer out to diverse businesses in our community, and they've already received 14 replies for services that they can provide next year going forward. So they are committed to increasing their opportunities that they provide to our local economy.
Right. Thank you. And I know, Ms. Jackson, the numbers wouldn't happen without you. And so thank you for your work and your continued work in the future. Councilmember Giarrusso.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to echo what the chair said, Mark. You and your team have done a phenomenal job of being an advocate for the city of New Orleans. And we think we have a good brand here, but we got to constantly remind people about what's here. And we have all these events also that are coming to the city in very short order. The national championship game will be here. LSU will be playing. We know the Super Bowl is coming, the NCAA Women's Final Four, the Men's Final Four. And you all are constantly promoting not only those events, but also the neighborhoods that are so critically important. So I thank you for that. What I wanted to ask a little bit about is I think there's some concern now with New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation making this transition to New Orleans Company. Can you speak a little bit to how matters will be handled publicly and how there will be this seamless transition, particularly under your leadership, and you're going to work inside that other organization?
Yeah, thank you very much, and I appreciate your comments. Over the last few years, there's been some very healthy collaboration. As you know, we've combined ourselves into one website that makes it easy for the consumer. Our social media is together. As it relates to our physical move, we're already in our offices where we would be because we were leasing space from New Orleans and Company. As it relates to regular reporting out, our commitment is to provide regular updates as to our marketing efforts for the city. I know we've got an important tax issue on the table for Saturday, very important for the short-term rental, those public dollars, and so we're wanting to make sure that we're reporting out on the use of any of those public dollars on a regular basis. We're used to doing that, and we'll be back here as often as you would like us to ensure that you know what we're doing and how we're putting this message out around the country. And actually, we'll have an opportunity now with our team to assist New Orleans and Company, which has that international responsibility because they work with the State Office of Tourism, to now take the brain power that they have sitting next to me and assist them in helping amplify that message. So I don't see any speed bumps as far as what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Our key message here is that we need to continue doing that. We can't stop doing that because we do that and another city takes advantage of our messages not being out there.
Right. Well, I appreciate that. I think that commitment now made publicly that the public dollars will be accounted for and be reported is just crucial because particularly when people think that they're paying for a service, they want to see return and know where it's going and how it's being used. And I know you've always been, and your team have always been, a good stewards of the money, and will continue to do so. And
yeah, we obviously know we're going into a hybrid situation, but New Orleans and Company being a private member-based organization that does tourism promotion for the city, for the economy, we being the public arm, we understand that it's a responsibility for us to ensure that people understand what we're doing to help improve the economy, and we look forward to being back and reporting as you need us to do.
Yeah, that's great. I just, it's a weird word to use, but when you merge cultures, sometimes it's just different. And you all have a culture of reporting and doing all of those things.
We're excited. I think in most cities, in fact, only other one city has two organizations like us, and having a unified approach to marketing of the tourism economy is really the right way to go for the consumer, because that way they're not confused by different messages, and we'll commit to making that work.
Thank you.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Good morning. Well, first of all, I just wanted to thank you for your leadership in working, particularly in District E. I know when I first came on, we reached out to how do we tap into those dollars to really support many of the events that take place in District E. and you have made your commitment and continue to do that. So I want to thank you for doing it. But just for the sake of people that may not know how or working on a festival to help promote cultures in our community, and Essa, maybe you could also comment on it. How do people reach out to you, and is there a process that you guys receive application to consider for funding?
Right.
Yes.
So I think there are a couple of things going forward that we should consider. One is that anyone that's putting together a festival or an event, special event, that's very important editorial content for what we do each and every day. So getting in touch with us after January 1st, for instance, at New Orleans and Company, but even now at NOTMC, that information is so key because content is king or queen, and we want to use that to help attract people to come into the city. So, and that, of course, is a service that's there's no charge to that service. Going forward, we're suggesting that NOTMC, if as a suggestion, maintain some funds where an organization could apply for some marketing dollars, as they do now. There's a process if someone has a festival or a fair, a big event that might attract people in from the outside to, as we say, stay in the hotels, put some heads in beds. They apply. All we ask is that they use it against marketing. So they're using it for flyers, they're using it for radio, they're using it for social media, and those grants can run anywhere between $5,000 and $20,000 depending on what the need looks like. And it's really a very simple way of approaching it. And I think over the last several years, the system's been pretty easy to get into. We also offer advice and counsel when someone's looking for information, and that will go forward whether we're at New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation or New Orleans and Company. And we've seen a lot of growth. We have, I think, over 145 permitted festivals now.
Wow.
With only 52 weeks out of the year, so there's a lot going on.
There's always something going on in New Orleans.
Yeah, there's always something happening,
Yeah,
which
and
is
then-
great because it attracts people into the city.
And in it to win it workshops, how often do you guys do that?
Quarterly. Yes, we have quarterly events throughout the city of New Orleans. We host those at Ashe, so we're really excited about the partnership we have there. Also, the utilization of small and emerging businesses for all of our products and services for our events. The topics, I know Jeremy and I have partnered on this. We just celebrated that full year, so I know you received the communications around In It to Win It. So we started off really talking about what businesses really wanted to hear about, especially preparing for Essence Festival, Jazz Fest, those big events throughout the city. And so we started talking about social media initiatives. How do you tap into the tourism and hospitality industry, the festivals? We've had Google experts to come in from across the country, as well as other, professionals to really talk to small businesses about what steps they could take to really help propel their businesses to the next level. So, yeah.
And those will
we're gonna
continue next
continue.
year as well, working in partnership with New Orleans Multicultural Tourism Network and New Orleans and Company and NOTMC if it moves in that direction. But we will continue.
Councilmember Nguyen, we do 4 of those a year currently,
4, yeah.
quarterly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember Wynn. Councilmember Palmer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Y'all are like one of my favorite teams. Y'all do incredible work. And I know Councilmember Williams is going to speak, but I just want to say but the difference between my first time out and this time, what has transpired at NOTMC has really been remarkable in terms of listening to the community, in terms of your marketing towards more events that are multicultural, making sure that our spend is diversified, and especially within DBE. And then what happened with the Essence Festival, and then how that can now go into all festivals, right, to ensure that our Black-owned businesses are receiving benefits of the tourism dollar is hugely important to our city and our economy, right? Because tourism only works if everybody is uplifted, right? And so y'all have done that, I really believe, so well, because I think a lot of the leadership from Councilmember Williams and a lot of other folks in NOTMC. And my concern is that's because of the board structure of NOTMC and our public meetings, right? Everything's open to the public. You have the board of NOTMC is diverse by nature. You have representation from the council on there. You have 3 council members on NOTMC. Currently, it's Councilmember Banks, myself, Councilmember Moreno. Councilmember Moreno and Councilmember Williams, they rotate through. And I think that's a really important dynamic because we also represent neighborhoods that are very much impacted by tourism. And so I am very concerned, and I've voiced this at our board meeting, and I've been voicing this publicly, about this merger that, well, when we still don't have any concrete information how it will go forward. I know it's like a staffing merger. That's how y'all see it, and I think that's true. And I absolutely agree that when you talk about consumer access and speaking with one voice when we market our city, I think that's really important. But I also think what's really important is public input into how the public wants our city to be marketed and how we also want our city to thrive economically and ensuring areas like New Orleans East and Algiers and other neighborhoods receive the benefit of tourism, but then also some of our neighborhoods that receive an abundance of tourism can also not have any kind of negative impacts, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think we're all copacetic on that. But how we're going to achieve that with this new model hasn't really been discussed, right?
What I might suggest is, again, I've spent 8 years with NOTMC, and to your point, very robust and vibrant meetings, good conversations back and forth. That the modified NOTMC stay as a board-appointed organization that does the work that it needs to do now. It still has a opportunity to help support the neighborhoods through fairs and festivals. It still has its responsibilities for multicultural tourism, the other commitments on the books, and also receives regular updates on how we are doing this so that we can hear in this public format back from the neighbors and the interested community members, because it's, we are all citizens, and I think it was Mayor Riley from Charleston, South Carolina, that said a city that works for its
residents
citizens
first.
will be a city that visitors want to come to.
That's right.
And
we always should put our people first, our residents first, right? And so I agree with you. And trust me, I know where your heart is, and you are an incredible man and representative of the city, and the work that you do you go above and beyond. I mean, I see you at all the events, and I know you help out tremendously. But for instance, when I came on board last time, right, there was this Boston Consulting Group study.
right.
And that study was used to market our city. Every decision that was made from, New Orleans and Company and NOTMC hearkened to this study, right? And so now we're at a point of 18 million tourists a year, right? And we think a lot of it is from how y'all determined how we wanted the city to be marketed and all of that. And so we've seen a huge increase, right, in tourism. And that's been very positive for our economy. It's also had some not so positive things going on within neighborhoods. And I think we also have to look at household income from the hospitality industry and how that matches, right, with the rise. And a lot of other cities, what they do is they have a sustainable tourism plan that is created in conjunction with the city leaders, with the community, business leaders, with neighborhoods, with the city administration, with the hospitality industry first and foremost, to see how is it we want to market our city? What areas do we feel that we need to ensure that we are being inclusive, either through DBE participation, through ensuring that not all of our neighborhoods are oversaturated with tourism and we spread the wealth, right? To make sure that there's a deeper spend from the tourists that come here so that they're actually buying good, like our art, and they're buying from local people, right? Instead of just,
Culture seekers.
Our culture seekers are ones that have a higher spend. Mm-hmm. For instance, you brought up Charleston. Some of our people here from the Arthur Money Center appreciate that. You know how Charleston markets their city? They market, it's called 72 and 72. They market to people that are over 72 because they'll stay for longer than 72 hours. and they have a deeper spend. They like to go into neighborhoods. They like to go to local businesses, right? Which means that it's uplifting a lot of folks.
In 9 years, I can market to myself then.
I'm not saying leave us out. I'm just saying they figured out what works for Charleston that protects their neighborhoods and their cultural economy, and it still makes everybody thrive, right?
Yeah.
So you know where I'm going with this. I've been pushing for quite a while that the city of New Orleans needs to have a sustainable tourism marketing plan,
Yeah.
a plan that I would love to see the NOTMC work on in conjunction with New Orleans and Company, in conjunction with the Greater New Orleans Foundation, where it can set the tone. Because if you're now, and if all of y'all are over with New Orleans and Company, we don't see what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's not I'm not going to say that's a negative thing, but like even in your presentation, which I know we haven't gotten to yet, you know, your main goal for 2020 is to increase visitation. So where do we stop? I mean, where are we trying to increase it to?
Yeah.
Do we want 20 million people to come? Do we want 50 million people to come? Because we only have 400,000 people, a little shy, that live here.
And I think obviously that broad subject about increasing visitation really is more tied to the economic spend that comes across from that, and to do it in a responsible way.
But what I'm saying is that the number that we hold to the success of tourism, and that needs to be the conversation that I think the city needs to have.
And the BCG report we've discussed internally, we now need to go back into that process because that was done for a specific period of time, and to
Correct.
your point, we do need to get back into
now
that
we're at
and
18
have
million.
everybody at the table.
And look,
and
we are
discuss
very
it.
fortunate to have a mayor that understands fair share. Our mayor also said, though, that this is the first step, and there's going to need to be more. Because the reality is our police, our fire, our EMS all have to operate for a city of 18 million people, even though there are only 400,000 people here. And consequently, it's the citizens, when people are being made, when we see higher property taxes, millages going up, all of these things, we're having to pay for these increased strain on our infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, look, I love the hospitality industry. We all know that. That's how I worked my way through school. My girls are in the hospitality industry. Everybody I know a lot of people I know in the hospitality industry. It's great. And this is the best city in terms of hospitality. Our people love our visitors. And people love coming here because of our people. But again, we need to have a plan that is thoughtful and brings everybody together to determine how we want to do this. And how do we judge success? Because I'm going to judge success by revenue spends going up in our neighborhoods, by household incomes going up in our community, by $15 an hour wage. I mean, that's how I might do it. Other people might do it by pure numbers. Other people might do it a combination. And I think we need to have that conversation on what we want our city to be so we don't turn into a Venice. We're already, seeing people can't afford to live in Tremé anymore, Marigny or Bywater. And then tourists are just coming in and they're living and they're hanging out in neighborhoods where we don't have people that live there. This isn't on y'all, and it's not because of y'all. Y'all have been tremendously successful. I just think as a city, we need to determine what we want to look like. And NOTMC, to me, is the vehicle of how we market our city. And y'all do it so well, right? You really do. And so I'm concerned, and I'm just going to keep talking about this, that I really want to see a plan. We obviously have additional monies in our NOTMC budget for the end of this year. I would really like to see money set aside that a plan can be done in partnership with the hospitality industry, perhaps have it led by GNOF, because they've done these big things before where we have our culture bearers at the table. And the other thing, I'm looking at Essence, is like, where does our multicultural tourism fit into this? Because that's my other concern, right? We always had money set aside within the budget for your organization, Essence. What happens now?
Yeah, we're suggesting that in the modified NOTMC, that budget stays within that framework, and so they would receive their dollars.
So, but so the state has all this money that they're going to be marketing for. Y'all have already created this incredible framework of inclusion and making sure the money goes. Essence already has these amazing plans on how we need to market our city as well. To me, it's like, where's the framework that states we want the multicultural tourism spend to go up this much? We want to ensure that businesses spent in our black businesses and further on the community goes up this much, right? We want to make sure that what we did for Essence Festival is done for the Super Bowl and is done for every other group that comes down here.
Well, my commitment is, even though our world changes a little bit January 1, I will continue pro
Let's
bono,
hope it doesn't
volunteer.
change
We don't want it to
January
change.
1. Let's hope it doesn't change January 1.
But we know, but
My
you're
payroll will come from a different organization, but my heart will be making sure that this transition occurs.
right. But if something, God forbid, happens to you or to you, Jeremy, or to you, Essence, how do we know that? And that, to me, is the value of a plan,
Yeah.
so that it becomes codified. And so now it is what governs, not governs, it is what helps inform decisions from Friends and Company, from NOTMC, and then we can
Got it.
all move forward. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, and
And it enshrines it. Because I think we're all saying the same thing, we just don't have it enshrined.
got it.
Okay. So those are my concerns. And maybe we're a victim of NOTMC's success. I don't know. But y'all have been tremendous. And what you've done with linking hospitality workers to healthcare, I mean, I just want to see that continue.
That will.
You know, all the work that we're trying to do with I'm trying to do like hospitality and transportation and getting workers, you know, faster out to Algiers and New Orleans in late night hours. I want to try to find hospitality parking. I really want to uplift our hospitality workers and really make this, you know, the big easy, because I think that's a misnomer for folks that live here. It's kind of hard sometimes to live here. And I'm concerned within the budget and the proposal of only offering 1 or 2 staff members for NOTMC. I just am.
Again, this was
I know.
our suggestion, but
I know.
I know there's a need to have the city council work with the administration to build that out. But
So
we wanted to
I
offer some to think.
am just on record wholly 100% opposed to NOTMC going away in any way, shape, or form. I will continue to speak to that. I would like to see a sustainable tourism plan used with the dollars that are left over at NOTMC, and that it would be done by like somebody like the Greater New Orleans Foundation in partnership with the hospitality industry, in partnership with our culture bearers and our workers and our cultural institutions and our museums. And I think this could be an incredible way of linking our assets and making sure we're maximizing our assets and our people, which I think then would lead to a better experience when people come to New Orleans that is real and authentic.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that's it. I don't mean to get myself.
Thank
And
you.
again, y'all are just an amazing, amazing team. And I don't want to. I don't want to see the A team go away or split apart.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Banks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning.
Morning.
First, let me say thank you all for one of the most phenomenal things that I think have happened in this city over 300 years. And that was those fireworks displays that took place across the city last New Year's Eve.
Tricentennial. That's right.
That was absolutely phenomenal. And I had the opportunity to visit 3 of the 4 of them, and the smiles on the faces of children across this city, because many, many families aren't going to bring their kids down to the French Quarter. Many of those children had never seen a fireworks display of that magnitude, and it was magical to watch them, and I would hope that we would be able to continue that.
We do have 2 at least planned for this year, one out in the east, and, of course, the one at midnight. I've been trying to fundraise for the other areas, but we've got 2 down so far.
All right. Well, thank you for that. What I want to talk about is, and I understand what the goal is to bring more people here, and I'm fine with that. I'm great if you bring 100 million people here. I'm okay. All right. But my issue is that, no, I'm not going to, I promise you I won't be in Metairie. That I can promise you. But my issue is that I think it's great that people come. I think it's great that people spend tons of money. I think that that's all wonderful. My disconnect comes, though, in that the culture bearers aren't included in those resources. Now, I think hoteliers are fine. I think restaurateurs are fine. I think all of the big promoters that put on the Voodoo Festival and the Jazz Fest and all those great things that draw people here, I think that that's all great. What can we do to be more intentional to make sure that this base, the culture bearers that all of this stuff is stacked on, how do they receive some of those benefits? I got a call, man, from a friend who was in Denver, Colorado, who saw, I'm not sure if it was a painting or a print of Zulu tramps on Mardi Gras morning in a gallery in Denver, Colorado with a $3,500 price tag on it. Wow. Now, I think that's fabulous for the artist. But those guys that actually paid for those costumes, that bought those beads, that bought those feathers, that sat there and did whatever they did to put them together, they didn't get a dime. Yet, I'm pretty sure that next year they were out there in a whole different costume.
Right.
And somebody else took a picture and they're selling that somewhere. So what can we do to be more intentional to prop up the base of this tourism industry?
You know, I think in our efforts with Essence and what Jeremy has done with the In It to Win It workshop, being able to provide a roadmap for our culture bearers on how they could monetize what they do on a regular basis so that they're not cheated out of dollars that they deserve. There was images when someone is being taken a photo of themselves, they need to give that right away. They just can't just take it for free. We need to be able to provide them some direction on how they need to ask for a piece of that pie.
So would you please explain for the listening public exactly what In It to Win It is?
Yeah, the In It to Win It workshop is a program that Essence and her team created along with our team to provide social media, public relations, marketing, event planning, consulting services to organizations within our communities, our diverse communities, particularly our black-owned businesses, so that they can pick up experiences that these people have had so that they can use it to better themselves, to grow their own business, to become more aware on how to make sure that their images are not just used without their permission and, of course, being monetized. It's really to provide more education to the community so that they can get more opportunity out of the tourism economy.
And then I'll add an additional piece to that. It was actually birthed from a conversation we had with small businesses that said every year Essence Festival arrives and we get no business. We don't send them into the communities, in the neighborhoods, right? And so we brought them in for a focus group, and we really wanted to hear what really resonated with them in the community. What did they want to see when similar groups and festivals come to the city, like an Essence Festival? And so we said we need to create an environment where they can come and hear from their peers and also hear from professionals. So one of the sessions I loved the most was Ed Robinson. We all know L&R Security. And we had a couple other, tenure seasoned business owners that came in and really talked about the pros, the cons, the wins, the losses. And it was really a successful time because some of these smaller businesses could hear some of the things and the roadblocks that may be occurring and that they could prevent, right? And so it really was a time to just bring those businesses together and connect and then provide opportunities. Then we created this database of sorts. So when we're looking for minority businesses in the community, we go directly to this database. When we get calls from New Orleans and companies about, groups and conventions that come to the city, it's a list that we can constantly use to create our own internal business list.
And this is not a brick, but I want to understand, why is it that they get looked for when you're looking for a minority business? Why can't they be at the top of the list? Why can't you go to look at those businesses first? See, I get the idea of having a goal is fine to me. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, those goals ought to be the base. They ought to be the floor, not the ceiling.
Yes.
So rather than having to go look for a XYZ company when you're looking for a minority company, why not go look for that company when you have to find a company, period? Why they only have to be looked at when it's to get the DBE portion? Why can't they be looked at to get the whole piece from the beginning?
Yep.
I mean, I would hope that that's the kind of methods that we could include into what we're doing moving forward.
Yeah, it's the intention. I understand.
Because that's where we need to be. I mean, the community will not survive on just those pieces.
Right.
At some point, the pie has to be expanded. They got to be able to eat more if you're ever going to level the scale. And that disparity study was glaring.
That's right.
All right? And people talked about people were making it up and it wasn't true. No. Those hard numbers show that there's a real economic disparity here. And we need to be addressing that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Banks. Councilmember Williams.
There definitely are some reoccurring themes from the dais. I think a lot of it probably focuses around the fact that, and Councilmember Palmer was absolutely right when she said this team is a wonderful team. I mean, all of you guys doing your part, the collaborations with Essence, not Essence Fest, with Essence Banks. I mean, like, all of it has just been just so intentional. You know, a lot of times that word gets misused, but there were some goals that we set for NOTMC, and a lot of times, you know, you have these meetings, you walk away, or you get a study done and it gets put in a binder and it goes on a shelf, but nothing changes in the way that things operate. With NOTMC, things move very, very quickly, probably a lot faster than they do in any corporation or in any city government. The doubling down on our contract with Deb Elam to help us really put pieces in place so that we could get to where we want to go. I think that really showed a commitment from NOTMC and frankly, not just going after culture seekers in every category. I mean, the work with going after certain influencers, whether they be LGBTQ influencers or whether they be minority or women influencers, to get people to want to come, and that was local and national. I'm thinking about the Caramel Curves, that whole piece, the ride along and the piece, all that is the type of thing that really, I think, gets more people to come here. But the flip side of that sort of recycling circle is also where we spend the money when they get here. And I know you all have been working really hard with Beverly McKenna, the Tribune, and some others to make sure that not just when Essence Fest is in town, but when the Super Bowl or these other non-minority functions are in town, we want to make sure we're pushing those folks out into our communities as well. And I think you all have really done a phenomenal job of that. And I think the fear is that the foot's not going to be on the gas the same way after this merger happens, not due to you all's input, but just due to other folks being involved in the mix that may not have realized how and why we got to where we are. Yeah. So I agree with Councilmember Palmer about that sustainable marketing and tourism plan from the standpoint that the personalities before us now and the rest of your team are phenomenal, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now, how do we make sure that we're doing this better than we have before? So I think it's pretty exceptional that as we celebrated the city's 300th birthday, we were having conversations about hospitality workers having access to health care, right? Because all of this is on their backs. And you all did that. Within a year of that clarion call, you all did that. And a lot of times people talk about where New Orleans is situated. It is situated in the Deep South. It is situated in America, but it is really the northernmost part of the Caribbean. If you really think about how we live, what we eat, color we paint our houses, how we celebrate, all that. But the world has flowed through the Dominican Republic. The world has flowed through Haiti. The world has flowed through Jamaica and all these places. And the folks that live there are left in squalor, some of them sleeping on dirt floors every night, because there is not this investment in the things that people want to come and take pictures of and eat at. So the work you all have done is probably some of the first work in this city to make sure that when dollars come through, they are left and spent with black-owned business, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and that that can't go away. And so we got to figure out a way that the good work and the successes that you all have made are institutionalized. And frankly, the talent that you all have pulled together is appreciated in this new organization. They've done a good job, but they have not done a job as good as you all have. I mean, it's one thing to do something well over a couple of decades. It's another thing to like see an issue, have protesters, jump on it, hire Deb Elam, work with the healthcare industry to put something in place in a few months. That just simply does not happen unless you want it to happen. So I want to make sure that we are protecting the people that you all have put in place. So to the extent that we can help do that, lean on us. I think this will be a big year. This will be a big growth year, or it'll be a year for stalling. And so we have to make sure that it goes the direction we want.
And get the processes right.
Right. I also want to encourage, because you all can do things so fast and so well, that we branch out. And I know people don't think of New Orleans as being the sportsman's paradise and all that, but we've got so much great stuff in New Orleans East in terms of ecotourism. And there are a lot of people that come from all over the world who don't want to catch beads, don't want to eat beignets. They want to get out in the swamp. They want to see the coast. They want to see that marshland, and we have so much of it out in New Orleans East. And I know I had a conversation with Senator Landrieu about the possibility that we might be able to have the federal government accept some of that as in terms of wildlife and fisheries and make it a national destination, which would allow us to do a whole lot more with it. And I think that you all could take that opportunity and do just wonderful things. I've seen the packages you put together and to sell New Orleans, whether it was a Skull and Bones crew, whether it's Christmas in New Orleans. I mean, I use the website just to decide what I'm going to do in town, just because you encapsulate all of it so well. So I think we should look at that ecotourism piece. I think it'll get people out in New Orleans East. I think it might help us get a little bit closer to a Bass Pro Shop out there in that area, which could draw some dollars from St. Tammany and other places. But if tourism is the girl we brought to the dance and we're going to keep dancing with her, we got to make sure that is really producing for all of our communities. And I think that ecotourism piece might be the next frontier for us.
Thank you.
But again, I got more so than any questions or next steps. I just really want to, before we officially say goodbye to our last presentation from NOTMC to this new organization, you all have killed it in terms of what we've asked you to do, and in terms of you all seeing things that we didn't see. It really is an exceptional piece in terms of follow your NOLA, and it means follow it away from Bourbon Street onto other parts of the community, whether it's O.C. Haley, Gentilly. It's really been a turn. I've been proud to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. We're gonna be folding into New Orleans and Company our work with Healthy Hospitality, with the In-It-to-Win-It workshops, with our outreach to various communities. So that we're baking that into the budget right now as well.
That's good to hear. I know that you and I had some offline conversations with some other folks. They were not as willing to run to that Healthy Hospitality work to get it done. You're in these meetings and then you walk away and you're like, well, who's going to bake the cake, right? You all bake the cake, and so I thank God that you all can sort of be the standard bearer in this other organization you're being folded into.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Palmer, and Moreno.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo. You heard what he was saying about, ecotourism. I mean, that's a whole nother concept that could go into a plan. And real quick, one of the things that we're also trying to do is look and see how other agencies of the city can operate better, which leads me to the French Market Corporation and other entities like that really NOTMC should be the marketing arm for, right? So you don't have duplicative services within the city. And that's something that I think we need to start thinking about and moving forward. I also want to thank you for the help that you gave with Algiers, but we're still without a ferry. And so that community still needs you. We've had one business shut down already. and we have a bonfire coming up, and they had to cancel their home tour, and we've got local businesses hurting over in Algiers, and I've really been trying to get people to raise awareness to that and any kind of marketing.
Yeah, we're suggesting a specific press conference just for Algiers holidays,
Right.
and we'll work with Valerie and her team and your team on that.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Moreno.
Just one quick question, Mark. Good morning.
Morning.
So during our last NOTMC board meeting, we had talked about, and I know Councilmember Palmer briefly brought this up, about having something in writing as far as a new collaboration with NOCO and NOTMC. Do you think that for this board meeting we may be able to have something a little bit
My
more
sense
concrete?
is, because we had the deadline to get something in to ensure that there was something we could discuss today about how we could imagine NOTMC moving forward. That was the beginning of that discussion. I think by Tuesday's meeting we'll have at least an outline of how we think the next steps should look like.
Yep.
Because I think at some point the NOTMC board would want to bless a process that then comes to the council, and then working with the administration on taking that next step. That's why we understand. We know December 31st is going to be just around the corner.
I know.
But we're committed to providing our services as you need to move this thing forward, so there's a smoother transition on it.
Yeah, and I know I've really been pushing to get something down on paper, but I think that's the easiest way that all of us can look at something and say that this is going to work or that's not going to work, or
Right.
I think if we just keep having all these different conversations and nothing for us to really look at, I think it makes it more complicated.
Yeah.
So,
And I think if we could utilize this sort of example draft budget of what NOTMC would look like, that can be our starting point.
yeah, no
So
doubt,
I'll
no
use
doubt.
that.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate you, of course. We look forward to working with you in New Orleans and Company. Ms. Banks, you have a presentation right quick, or you
Just
you
very
did
quickly.
it very quickly?
Yes.
And I want to first publicly thank you on a great, clean audit
Thank you.
in the ship that you have corrected
Amen.
at your organization,
Yes.
and you to be congratulated.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Oh, Mr. Romig, can you just leave us with two?
First down, Saints!
Thank you. All right.
Speedy recovery, Mark. Speedy recovery. All right.
Right. Thank you, Mark. So I will be brief for the sake of time. Thank you so much, City Council, for the opportunity this morning. Just want to run through a few things with New Orleans Multicultural Tourism Network. I have also here the support of our board chairman, Angela Simon, here as well. But, we talked a lot in Mark's presentation about the organization's mission, its purpose, and giving back to the community. And as you know, this organization has had that mission since 1990. So we've had, former council member Jim Singleton, we've had Oliver Thomas, as well as, some others, Gwen Carter, that have fought for this organization in 1990, whose mission still stands today. And so I think the point here is that, we were early adopters with a lot of the culture bearers, the culture seekers in the community that said, where are the opportunities for minority-owned businesses? And so the purpose of our organization, as you know, is to bring opportunities to the communities in our neighborhoods to ensure that they are getting a seat at the table and that they're receiving opportunities. So in this last few years, I know you've seen lots of information come from our office, right? We've had a restructuring of not only staff, we've also had of our board of directors. We now have a new advisory council membership team under the direction of Angela Simon. But we've also started to coin our own events because we think it's really important to really hone in on our community and making sure they see the return and they see those opportunities. So we talked a little bit about In It to Win It. So we partner with New Orleans Marketing Tourism Commission on that, which is extremely important, and we think that there's value there. We also have a Meet the Players series. So if you haven't heard of this one, this is where we bring in key stakeholders in our community. It's a maybe 1 hour lunch and learn where they talk about economic development, procurement, supplier diversity initiatives, and we're really thoughtful about their process and who gets invited. So it's really an intimate conversation that we have quarterly. And then one of our biggest, biggest claims to fame this year was the New Orleans Music Showcase. We talk a lot about our artists and the community, our culture bearers, and so what we did was have a contest with local artists in New Orleans. I know you heard about it, familiar with it, where we worked with our ad agency of record, GMAC Advertising, to really help us promote this event in partnership and sponsorship with Mark Romig and his organization. We were able to confirm 4 local artists in New Orleans to perform on 4 stages during the Essence Music Festival, which was amazing. So they had to be locals. They had to also have their original music. They went through rounds of, interviews, and they had to, have their online submissions. And this was really a great way to bring the community together to really talk about what the soul of New Orleans is. You know as well as I do that when visitors come, they want to know, where do you listen to music? Where do you eat? What communities and neighborhoods do you visit? And so this was just another piece of that. This was hosted at the New Orleans Jazz Market, very well attended, over 60 submissions. And so this is another way to keep that ongoing database of local talent, those musicians and artists, at the stake, in the portal for future events and activities. And then this is a piece that Cindy Nguyen, a council member, mentioned this morning about opportunities in the community. So we are very thoughtful, I guess, the past 3 or 4 years about who we focus on in our community. So as you can see from this slide, it's really about focusing in on our community partnerships. And so, we've expanded a bit. So we wanted to make sure we reached out to organizations and companies such as New Orleans African American Museum. Right? We also went in New Orleans East and sponsored the Snowball Festival. Both Treme Fest, we are very intricate supporters and sponsors of the festival every year, with the caveat of all these others. But the newest one is the Red Flame Hunters, which I was really excited about that one this year. So we do have a formalized process for local businesses, festivals that come to the city. And so we really wanted to make sure that we were tapping into other markets. So you also will see here the Fried Chicken Fest. So New Orleans Multicultural Tourism Network was the very first adopter and sponsor of that festival, and now you see how much it's grown, right? So we're moving our funds, which we are on limited budget, as you know, but we also wanted to tap into other local festivals. So Red Flame Hunters was one of the recipients, as well as Original 7. And then we sponsor events in Duncan Plaza, where we also bring in our local artists and community to participate in events with us as well. Our partnerships, as you know, have grown over the past 3 years, and we are really proud of the work that we have done and accomplished with the Marketing Corporation, with New Orleans and Company, really working with their sales teams, the hotel community on opportunities for businesses that want to tap into the community tourism industry as a whole. So really, you can see from our partnerships, I know we talked a little bit about Beverly McKenna and her organization, the New Orleans Tribune, just really have expanded our reach in the past 2 to 3 years, and just wanted to kind of share some of our key successes and opportunities with you this morning. So wanted to keep it brief there.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. Councilmember Williams.
Essence, I just wanted to say that it's really hard to take the helm when there's under criticism, under hot spotlight, and right the ship in a very short period of time. So I really want to just go ahead and thank you for that and shout your congratulations publicly. I know we've done it privately. But also grow your organization while you're getting the fiscal side of it on. It's hard to do, and you've done both. And a lot of what we talked about over the past 3 years or so, and more robustly in this past year and a half or so, was the mission of your organization, and it was what you were pushing for.
Yeah.
And so some of the best work of NOTMC, although, has been this collaborative effort of making sure that black folks, Vietnamese folks, that we are looking at all of New Orleans. The first 300 was not focused on all of New Orleans.
That's right.
Right? Mm-hmm. But it was on the backs of all of New Orleans, right? And so your work is really appreciated. And I wanted to really just thank you for what you're doing for the musicians. A lot of times, I think people think that our local musicians are set. They think of local music. You see them on stage, and so you assume they must be paid living in some great house somewhere, like folks in Hollywood. And that's just simply not the case. These people are professionals. They're working a craft, and sometimes it's a labor of love. I remember Ellis Marcellus, the patriarch of the Marcellus family and all these great musicians. He went home. He just celebrated his birthday this week. And he went home one day years ago when he had a young family, and he told his wife, he said, "Well, I'm gonna put the horn. I'm gonna stop playing, and I might play the piano around the house, but I'm gonna start driving a cab, because he had to feed his young family."
Yeah.
And his wife said, "Well, I didn't marry a cab driver. I married a musician, and you're gonna be a musician." But everybody doesn't have that type of support. Everybody doesn't have that sort of someone pushing them. And so your organization really spotlighting the work and sacrifice of the musicians that play that music that everybody comes to hear, that everybody loves, that is here. That's a really important piece, because a lot of these folks are still trying to make ends meet, although they're on a stage and although there's bright lights on them and they do good during Jazz Fest and other festivals. That's just a part of a year, and you got to feed a family throughout a year. So thank you for spotlighting them.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. Councilmember Palmer.
You know, I got to say something, because I just think y'all are awesome, and I really appreciate everything that you're doing. And I just want to echo what Councilman Williams says, because we ask our musicians to play for free all the time, like what we would never ask other people to do, and it's just insane to me. So it's so important, your advocacy with that. I know you're doing a lot of work with the Ella Project, and they're also trying with that as well. But, we've had this conversation. I just want to say it publicly. I really think New Orleans is missing the boat with multicultural tourism. I think y'all need more funding.
Yes.
We are not promoting our tours, like our civil rights heritage is just laying fallow, and we have an incredibly important and a wealth of things that happened in this town that we are not talking about. Mm-hmm. And I just think that that's a whole nother level of tourism that people should be coming down to see. But unfortunately, we just don't seem to have, like, the tours like they do in Chicago has so many tours about their history and their heritage and their architecture. I just think that we need to be doing the same thing in terms of our African American history, and especially highlighting our civil rights, because I do know, y'all know, when they come down for Essence, when folks come down from all over the country, they're looking for those unique experiences, and we're not highlighting them.
Yes.
And that's our fault. We should be getting you some money. And I'm also going to ask that y'all are at the table when we do the Sustainable Tourism Plan. I want you to be front and center
great.
to really help lead that effort.
Yep.
So thank you for all your work.
That would be great. Thank you so much for your support as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. And I just want to add, again, my thanks to you for your leadership with the organization. I've worked with the legislative auditor in my time here on a city council and my days in the state legislature. And being, trying to right the ship is not an easy task, but you did it along with your team, and you to be commended daily. And so congratulations. Continue to do a great job. We look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.